Not everyone is your friend. It took me a while to really realize that, you know, some people that I may consider as my friend or friends, they're not actually friends, you know. Um, I have a tendency to really label friends quickly, and I think that's a problem. You can't label your friends very quickly. Like, I'll meet someone today, and I'm not saying that I label them today as a friend, but you meet someone, I meet someone, and you know, I'm friendly with them, they're friendly with me, and you know, just based off the surface, I assume that they're a good person and whatever, they're good, and I would assume in my mind that okay, this person would look out for me, or he or she would look out for me, and you know, that's where I messed up because when I did that, I didn't give them enough time to prove themselves. I didn't give them enough room to really, you know, show me who they really are. I just assumed and I just, rushed to tell to them as a friend, you know. And it's kind of hard, because if in one particular case I was talking with someone and you know they asked me a question. They said, "Oh, is he your friend?" And I said, "Yes." And they asked me if he's your best friend, and I said, "No, he's not my best friend." And they called the other person who they were talking about, and they asked them, talking about me, saying if he's my friend to him, and he said yes. And then they asked him if to him I am his best friend, and he said yes. And they came back to me and they're saying like, how can you consider him not as a best friend and he does? And the thing I said was that it's going to seem a way to not label them as a best friend, but what you have to take into consideration is that you can't just label, immediately that, oh, this person is your best friend, that person is your best friend, and you really have no history, you have no past. That person has not proven him or herself to you, whether he or she is a friend. And I think, that's something that we need to do, you know. Yes, it sounds a way to know someone for a good while and not consider them as a friend. It looks a way and it may sound a way to others, but you have to be careful because people out there, you know, they will interact with you, they will, behave properly around you, but deep down, they have no good intentions towards you. They're not, they don't really, want anything to do with you. You know, you may be there and think, oh, this person is that, this person is that, they're okay, they won't do this, they won't do that. But you don't know because you haven't given them enough time to prove themselves. And people tend to show their true self after periods of time. When you first meet someone, they give the best side they can to you. They sell you this image of who they are, but underneath they are someone different from who they show you at first. They're someone completely different, but it's just to just have you think that they're that person when they're not. So, and I'm not saying I'm perfect, I'm not saying, I'm the best person or whatever, but people do that. People, like, that's their thing. They will do that to you. And I like to use this example, like when you first meet a woman or a girl, she will she will have you think, she will behave so good around you. You think that, oh, she's the one, she's, you know she's perfect. That's what you think. And after you might get in a relationship, or say you're not going in a relationship with her, you you have somewhat of a friendship, after a while, that person who you first met, you begin to see who they really are deep down after a good period of time. And there's no measure, there's no fixed measure. Oh, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. It can take any amount of time for a person to reveal themselves. It can take as much time. It depends on how good that person is at hiding themselves, their true selves. So that's something you really have to look out for. There are a lot of shapeshifters, as I would call them. you know their personality is not as it seems. They put on a mask of who they are, not revealing who they really, really, really are. you know I have met people, and in my head I considered them, not even as friends, but just someone that I would expect to look out for me and you know help me with certain things. And I reach out to them, and sometimes I don't even get a reply, I don't even get an answer. And it's so it's so confusing to me. It's so weird, because how can someone I expect to do something not do it? you know but it's my fault, it's not their fault. That's how they operate. They don't do certain things, and it's me who attach certain things to them. So it's not even their fault, it's my fault. But what I'm trying to say is, don't label people as your friends immediately. You have to give them time to prove themselves to you, prove that they are a friend. And how I know they are a friend is when they look out for you genuinely. They'll help you, take time out of their time that they're busy or doing whatever to help you. You know, they are truthful to you. They don't lie, they don't go around you. You know, things like those. They don't go around and spread different things about you to others. They don't speak behind your back. They don't do, things that friends wouldn't do. So that's how I would say you would know if they are your real friends. And it's going to take a while, for me and for everyone else to really get used to it, because for persons that are genuinely good and genuinely nice, as I would say, it's going to be hard, because people right now are they are the coldest. They'll do you things that you'll never even imagine a person do you. So to do yourself, it's it's something you have to look out for. It's something you have to be prepared for, because I'm telling you, people are something else, man. There's something else. And another part of it, not to branch off, but when you don't stand up for yourself, when you don't, show people that, oh, you're not easily not persuaded, you're not easily moved by their opinions, you're not easily walked over, that's when they really start to step back and respect you. Because I've seen cases where, because I'm a quiet person, I don't really speak a lot, and I think that's where they assume that, oh, he's this quiet person, he doesn't, and that's where I think some people take advantage, because they just treat you anyway, because you may not lash out, or you may not do certain things that others do. So they kind of set you below others or themselves. They set you below themselves and treat you according to how how they think you should be treated. And this is something that I realize, and I'm like, why do people treat people a certain way? You know, why do they do it? But you know, it's just all a part of what everyone's becoming right now, because it's the same thing. Like, if they themselves don't act a certain way, they have other people that will do them the same thing. So it's kind of a domino effect somewhat. Yeah, it's kind of that. And it's kind of sad. you know you have people doing things to people, and then they take that upon themselves and do it again to other people. So it's just coming down the aisle, coming right around. So you can't even escape it. But the thing with me, and the thing that the difference with me is that I will never let what someone does to me I do to another person, or I become so hurt by it that I project it onto another person. That's something I do not want to do. That's something that I will never do. Yes, I will learn from what the person has done to me and adjust some things, but I will never do the same thing that the person has done to me to another person. That is something that a lot of people do right now. They're reflecting the hurt, they're turning it onto another person that hasn't done them anything. And the cycle just continues, from one person to the next, from the next person to the next person. And it's going to become a point where it evens out. Well, it probably will never, but I'm just saying, it evens out, and you just have a world full of people that are just hurt, and they're just cold to each other, and they're just they're just broken. A lot of people that are walking around right now, you see, they act certain types of ways, they talk a certain way, they treat people a certain way. They within themselves are struggling with certain things, but they won't speak on it. They won't go for help about it. They will just take it in and hold it. That's what they do. That's why it's so important to release, to have someone to talk to have someone that you can openly express your feelings to. In the world of men and, young adult men, it seems kind of weak. Like, everyone wants you to be like this tough, man, or young man, more to say. And I think that it's just not gonna work, because not everyone has this solid mentality where anything happens to them, they won't be hurt by it, or they won't be moved by it. Not everyone has that mentality, and it's okay. I'm not going to say that you must have it. No, you don't have to. But the thing is, everyone has to have someone that they can go to. Some people don't, and I understand, because there are people out there that will judge you and will say things about you because you share certain things with them, and that's another problem. You have those people, but the main thing that I'm saying is, you have to have someone to talk to, and you know you don't be the person that spreads the hate or spreads the hurt, more to say. Don't be that person. Be someone that learns from it and learns to prevent it from happening again, not spreading it to others. I know this is kind of a bit off what I came with, but just some additional things to just go with it. But yeah, not everyone is your friend, and don't automatically, after a week, after 2 weeks, just title someone as your friend. Give them time to prove to you that they are your friend. Give them time to show you their true, their true tendencies, their habits, their bad ways, because everyone has things about them that isn't good. No one is perfect. Everyone has a downside to them. Everyone has something that they've done wrong, that even if they haven't done something wrong, they have somewhere inside of them has intentions to do wrong. Because we're all the same. Beneath the color, beneath the different hair, all of that, we're all the same. We have the same blood flowing through us. Different types of blood, but the same blood. So that's all I'm saying for this video. Thanks for watching.